Hold on. Make sure your video drivers are up to date. That's weird.
Give myself a bit of height, hang on. I don't know if I can. That should do it. This will end badly.
Let me just make sure we're... Alright, we're live.
Nearly.
And let me
Look at that for camera work. Look at that.
Flip you around. Oh, look at you looking all dapper today.
I always look like this, man.
Do you?
Yeah, not well. Sometimes, yeah, normally. Got some jeans on.
Let's see.
I'm trying to do you know what I really want to do? If I could do anything, I'm seriously thinking about how I can pull this off. I want to dress like they did in the 1930s, man. I want to go back to them days. You know?
Yeah.
Especially when he watch videos like Smooth Criminal. Think,
oh man.
What going on back then?
Speaking of Smooth Criminal, what the fuck did you have me watching? Let's just get right into it. What did you have me watching?
Can we just call the stream that? Did you watch it all?
Yeah. I changed the title of the stream to Finding or Leaving Neverland or whatever. Leaving Neverland Reactions. Yeah, I watched it last night. There's part of the first part I missed because I had the file in two, and I was having such a hard time getting into it that I was like, you know what, let me put on the second half, and maybe the second half will inspire me to want to watch the first half. Like, let's just get into the nitty gritty, and then maybe I'll want to see what led up to it.
Can I just do an introduction?
Yeah, go for it.
Before we really break this down, you've got to establish the difference between a documentary, which is about finding logic, reason, evidence, looking at both sides of the story, and an emotional journey of somebody, which is just through their eyes, and they try and get the viewer to experience the emotions of the person telling the story. And that's what it is. It's Wade's truth. It's his truth. They're always going about his truth. And it's also, it seems to be the era, we're in that time of the Me Too movement, where the documentary doesn't just talk about Michael Jackson, it talks about that era of time now, I believe, the victim. And I think, I don't want to get too deep towards the end, but I mean, if they pull this off, I mean, you're rewriting history.
Yeah.
You're taking Michael Jackson off the radio, off the books. And yeah, I'd like to talk about how crazy this documentary is.
Well, and speaking of, just real quick,
there's so many places to start.
Well, I want to start with.
Do you want to do it the big bombshells first, or do you want to do?
Well, no.
I don't know how you take it.
One of the things I want to touch on real quick, because I thought it was an amazing coincidence that
it's meant to split. You don't know. Of course, we don't know what happened in that room.
Yeah.
But when it's just his story and nothing else.
But here's the interesting thing.
It's 4 hours long. It's got with the dramatic music.
Yeah, and actually, right before.
Just pull in the strings of the viewer all the way through.
Right before I started watching it, I was watching Alex Jones's interview with Mancow, because he was on Mancow's podcast recently, and there was a really interesting.
Michael Jackson was on Mancow's
No, Alex Jones was.
There we go, folks. Michael Jackson faked his own death. He was on Mancow.
No, Alex Jones was. Now,
talking about the
Here's the interesting thing, though, is that Mancow asked Alex Jones, are you worried that they're going to assassinate you? And Alex Jones said, I understand, there's a likelihood that could happen. He said, but what they need to do is they need to build a avatar of me, a fake me, and a fake narrative surrounding me, so when they take me out, when people look back in history, they're not seeing the actual me, but they're seeing that fake caricature that they have erected in the place of me, so that way people won't see the truth. And I thought it was so interesting hearing him say that, because that's exactly what I felt like I was watching happen in this documentary, where it's like, now that Michael's gone and he can't defend himself, this documentary is there to build the fake Michael Jackson caricature so that when people look back, they'll be like, oh, Michael Jackson, the child molester, instead of, oh, Michael Jackson, the king of pop. Like, it's exactly what they're saying. He was saying they do. He was basically saying Satan does this. Satan will invert your persona post-death into something.
Well, everything was fine with Wade and Michael Jackson all the way through the trial, through during production, like all of Wade's business, doing his dancing.
Yeah.
All of this, it wasn't because Wade was a great dancer, it's because everyone knew he could get Michael Jackson's help. Fair enough, great. So he got all these contracts. He was like, Michael Jackson told me to go his own way when he died. He did that. He fucked his family over by the sounds of it. His family, we'll get onto his family later, but it looks like he's fucked his family up. He turned down all these like golden opportunities because he wasn't the star, you know, but there were still golden opportunities. He would have made good money. When it all collapsed, he tried to get a book deal, and during his time, he had a mental breakdown. It's all because he had this mental breakdown. It's not because he made some bad decisions that turned him bankrupt. It's not because his family can't even sit in the same room. Why are they not in the same room for any of it? They can't even get this family in the same room.
Yeah, there's something really odd going on there, and it's like
both of their dads committed suicide. Is that right? Both of them killed themselves, and they don't give a fuck. They're so cold about it. They're like, yeah, Dad killed himself.
Yeah, he just hung himself the day after I left, and yeah, it was very weird.
But what about when Michael Jackson died? It's like, what?
Well, and that's the thing is, like, you know, even with the other guy, the one guy, it's like, I'm looking at him and I'm like, this guy has
your life tumbled.
Well, the one guy definitely has like a bipolar disorder or some sort of mental, like, you can just see in his eyes, like, there's a mental issue there, and he was talking about having nervous breakdowns and stuff.
They go, why did Alec, did he touch you? And it's like, yes. And it's like doing these very like weird jerks, the kind of jerks you want to look out for. They're shrugs, which kind of shows that you're not confident in what you're saying.
Well, and you know what?
So they've had to do all these. I think it's the cover for these bad interviews is done where it's not believable. Now they've got all the close-up shots, and it's there just.
Well, you know what other one part I found really, really, really unbelievable. The whole story of the teenage encounter. The story, basically the part where he says Michael tried to sodomize him, and then he had to throw out the underwear, and all of that bit.
I forgot about that bit.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's just like, I don't...
Take my word for it.
I mean, I'm not going to get into the details of it, but, I mean, anyone can do a Google on anal sex, and like Cosmo Girl runs articles for teenagers how to do it, and it's like it's just like an unpractical story that's like Michael was
and they did it every single night. It's like, when did it happen?
Well, no, that part specifically, he said only happened once, and he tried to say that it did.
No, it's always sexual abuse. Every
time.
It's never a night's rest ever.
But the whole thing that he tried to say that it didn't happen, he wasn't able to get in, but yet somehow it caused bleeding, and then he had to throw out the underwear. Like, I'm not buying that. Like, it would have had to happen, and like for that to happen, and it's not practical. It's really not practical. But of course, you know, he threw out the evidence, so what do we know anyway, right? Like, I mean, that part, I was just like, this is ridiculous.
There's nothing about him trying to get a book deal and all these companies saying, I am not touching this.
Well, and that's the other thing, is like, this guy...
And then that became a court case, because when he took Michael Jackson family to court, the estate, they released his emails. And he's writing to his mum, getting the story straight. You can see the emails.
Wow.
You need to bring them up. If you just go onto Google, it's worth just reading them. Just type in Wade Robson autobiography emails. It'd be on like Michael Jackson Innocent Project or something. You can read the emails. He had to hand them over. He tried to not hand them over, but like the courts forced him to do it.
Yeah.
And that's why he lost the case, because you can see the emails. I think one of them, I'm trying to paraphrase, it's like, Mum, when I met Michael at this trailer, is there any chance he raped me? And she was like, nah, no chance. And then it's in his book, it's like, I remember it so vividly. It's like, well...
Well, and that's the other thing, that it really, you know, it's like
the
almost
story's
like...
changing a lot.
Well, and it's weird because it's almost like the whole family, like, has this sort of... like scorned girlfriend mentality, and I don't think it's because of any sort of romantic, you know, sexual type thing, but I think it's almost just out of how much Michael did for them. Like, you know, like he was giving them mortgages and shit. Like, he seems like the nicest person on earth, and then it's like these people just wanted more and more and more. And it's like...
Yeah, it seems like the parents pushed him into it. Like, for me, like, I was a big Michael Jackson fan. I would have pestered him, but it seems like his parents pushed him to Michael.
Yeah.
At the beginning. Like, at the beginning, I didn't really know who Michael Jackson was. And it's like... Celine Dion. I mean, Celine Dion's laughing about it. There's a scene in that film where they have different suites, just like... Michael Jackson have one suite, and then my suite got further and further away until I was on another floor. And I used to run up and listen, and she's giggling, going, I used to listen to see what they're up to. And it's like, if my mum was describing having to listen for a wall, knowing I'd been raped, everything should be laughing about it.
Yeah.
And why are they not in the same room? Why are all the families split up in this documentary? Why can't they get them in the same room?
I don't know.
I
thought that was weird too.
I know why they can't do it. You know why they can't get them in the same room.
Why? What's your...
Because they're backstabbers. It's just going to be absolute carnage. They hate each other, and they backstab each other, and they all know it's not true.
Yeah. I could see that. Well, and plus it's easier for them to edit things to make a consistent narrative if they're all just separate. You don't want any, like, pile-ons or anything like that.
Then what is the point of the documentary? Just to tell his story without even probing it once? Just his side of the story and that's it. Like,
yeah.
What is the point in that documentary? What's it supposed to do?
Well, the other thing, too, that I thought was really telling was...
I just think it just shows how bad the media is as well, that the media aren't ripping this apart as the worst.
Well, I thought it was interesting when it first started how I'm seeing, you know, HBO Presents with Channel 4 and with this group, and I'm like, why did all of these groups come together and decide that this needed to be made? And, like it wasn't just, like the whole scenario behind it, like it's being shown at these film festivals, but it's HBO, but it's also Channel 4, but it's this, it's like, it seems like a coordinated front to push this narrative out into the mainstream. And then, like I said, the one guy, I mean, definitely looks like there's serious mental issues. And if he is, like, bipolar schizophrenic, like, it would be very easy to convince someone that mentally unstable that, you know, oh, this happened to someone else, therefore it happened to you. I mean, I know a guy who's like a seemingly homeless guy who swears that he dated Raquel Welch, who's a supermodel during the 70s. But if you run into him, he'll tell you the whole story about how he met her and how they dated and all of this stuff. And like, he there's not a doubt in his mind that it's true. But everyone knows he's full of shit.
I think it's weird that they both have mental breakdowns when their life's ruined. Their family are not interested in them. It's a massive breakdown. I mean, after mental breakdowns, you can find people that can look you straight in the face and tell you, hey, I'm having relationships with aliens. They can tell you that straight in the face and admit they had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Like these kind of weird stories that come out when people have mental breakdowns, surely that's common with a mental breakdown.
Yeah. Well, and that's like I'm saying about the
and now
homeless
they've got
guy.
This excuse. Wade's got this excuse to why everything collapsed It's not because of him. It's because Michael Jackson, who's dead.
Well, and the other,
responsibility for anything, all this shit that's happened.
Well, and I thought it was also interesting the idea that, you know, that like how he talked about the whole thing about, you know, like I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I just thought it was what we did. I thought it was our relationship. But then the more I thought about like my son and something like that happening to my son, I would get angry. And then, you know, the guy's sister had the dream about it and then ran into him that day. And I'm just like, what? This is a movie story. Like, this isn't a reality story. Like, this is too fantastical to be. Like, things aren't just that coincidental where 1 hour you're at your therapist, you know, talking about this. Then the next hour you're out to eat with your brother and your brother's like, oh, my wife had a dream that Michael Jackson molested you. And he's just like, he did. Like, yeah, like, ridiculous. Like,
at the end, the dramaticness of when he burns the Thriller jacket and the glove. But if you look, he sold all these items on Julian's auction. Remember Julian's auction, Hollywood auctioneers? They do like, they did the Michael Jackson estate, they did the Prince auction. And when he gave the Thriller jacket and those stuff that belonged to Michael Jackson, Julian, he wanted to do it anonymously. He didn't want people to know he was Wade Robson. And Julian's auction, like, fuck that. Like, there's so many replicas and stuff like that. It has to be the Wade Robson collection, has to be your story. So if you want to sell this stuff, it's the Wade Robson collection, or you're going to have to keep the Thriller jacket. Because that's how auctions work. It's the story.
Yeah, you need authentication.
Yeah, and we don't have that. So he was like, okay, it's the way you can check the Thriller jackets in Texas. It's sold for like 1 point something million. So the one that he burned were replicas that he was given for stage shows. There's dramatic effect that it's burning a Thriller jacket. It's like, it's not burning the Thriller jacket. He sold that for money.
Yeah. Well, he
sold the Thriller jacket for money.
The other thing I have a hard time...
Michael Jackson was your buddy, and he goes, Jamie, pick any jacket, and he took the Thriller jacket as a kid. Even if you were, like, down and out, wouldn't you keep the jacket?
Yeah. Without a doubt.
That'd be, like, a last thing to, like...
Now...
it just seems weird that they...
The other thing that I have a hard time believing is the idea that he was being sexually molested, like you said, regularly. Like, he claims it was every time he stayed over there, which seemed like it was a lot. That he's like, I mean, the way it's talked about, I mean, it's like he's basically in a gay relationship with Michael Jackson. That's what he was saying, even, you know, especially when he talks about, like, you know, I wish sometimes that I would just be the friend that Michael Jackson would be real with, and I would be his special friend that he would have a real conversation with. And it's like, the idea that he is in this sort of relationship for years and years and years with Michael Jackson, but then has no problem having a heterosexual relationship with this woman that he meets, and that like, he's just able to have that relationship like it's normal. That doesn't happen with actual, like, child molestation victims. Like, there's a thing called the cycle of abuse, where the abused become abusers, or, you know, it's like, it just doesn't work like that.
You would have talked about homosexual tendencies as an adult that developed, but no mention of that at all.
Well, and that's the other thing. That's the other thing I'm thinking, like, while I'm watching this, is I'm thinking, like, I would bet money Michael Jackson was raped by Quincy Williams. Because there's stories about Quincy Williams trying to do that to Tupac, Quincy Jones, that's who. There's stories about him trying to do that to Tupac, and, you know, Quincy Jones produced the Thriller album and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's like, I don't believe that Wade Robson was, like, doing choreography for NSYNC and all that, and, like, not blowing Justin Timberlake. Like, the whole aspect of homosexuality and blackmail within the elite circles and entertainment industry and the Illuminati, like, when you factor that into it, it sort of creates a plot hole in this where it's like, I don't believe this guy was that successful in the music industry without executives and others, propositioning him in these ways. And it's like there's a backstory here where it's like I would even venture to guess that people that have actually abused Wade Robson are the ones putting him up to spinning this tall tale and telling him, like, this is your way back into the limelight.
Well, one thing Wade doesn't mention, which seems very weird, is Michael Jackson set him up with his niece when they were about 11 years old, and that was Brandy Jackson. So Wade was dating Brandy Jackson from 11 till about 19.
Yeah.
So about 7 or 8 years. And Brandy Jackson says Wade's full of shit. Like, she was at the sleepovers, nothing happened. She was at some of the events, she said, like, Wade never brought it up. And it's weird that Michael Jackson kept telling him how bad women are when he set us up.
Yeah.
So you would have thought in his documentary, how come this 7-year, 8-year relationship never came up? Brandy never came up. She must have been there, like, she said she was there like a lot because they were dating.
Yeah.
I think you can see Brandy on some of the Neverland Ranch videos.
Yeah, there's something weird about the whole thing. Who's this in the chat? Someone.
If you're a paedophile like Michael Jackson, first of all, the FBI investigated him for 4 years. They were tracking his phone. They were trying to just follow him everywhere, cameras. Like, they were trying to they really wanted him. So they got nothing, like nothing. But the other thing is if Michael Jackson's going to go on trial, why would he use a kid that he raped as the key witness, the first witness?
Right? Yeah.
It seems a little bit risky to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense.
Why is there no mention as to why? They need to go into more detail why he attended the funeral and the stuff like that, because it's just there to milk up the celebs. It's like once you can't milk his connections anymore. Because the funeral, you want to go to the funeral service because it's going to be like a who's who of the music industry.
Well, and you know what the other
he
thing...
just went there to like try and get a contract, I reckon.
You know what the other thing I think is...
Like he used to have, and like his whole production company was based around Michael Jackson. All of his dance routines were based around Michael Jackson. It's like if he abused you, how were you...
Well, and here's the other thing
I guess
that
that's
I think
why
is...
he's got to throw in all that, well, we were in love.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I think is very...
hang on, I haven't finished ranting yet. So, Wade, his dad kills himself. Didn't Jordan Chandler's dad kill himself? What happened to that other kid in the documentary? Did his dad suicide?
Well, the one dad hung himself. I remember hearing that. I remember hearing the one dad hung himself.
There's 3 of them have, like, suicided themselves. And they're so cold in the documentary towards the dad. They were like, yeah, fuck dad. He had bipolar, and we just like, fuck dad. There's like no explanation as to how it looks like the mum fucked the dad over, just like she fucked Michael Jackson over. And I don't care who you are, even if it is Michael Jackson, why are they giving their kids to Michael Jackson like that?
Yeah.
Can I have your kid for like a year? Sure. Can I have him over for a couple of months? Sure.
Well, yeah.
Take my kid away, you stranger.
And that's the really odd thing too. Is like it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what the situation was, what sort of promises of fame and fortune were brought. Like, my mother would have never done that to me. My mom, for all of her faults and everything, there's a mother lion instinct that, like, she very protective of her children when push comes to shove. Like, I even think that's like, me and my mom will argue about vaccines, because even when I was real sick as a kid and they were giving them to me, I would say it's making me sicker, it's making me worse. And I think that's why, despite whatever evidence I present her, like, she'll never admit that vaccines are dangerous and bad, because she couldn't handle the guilt of, like, the idea of her young son coming to her telling her that, and her still believing the doctors and everything. But I couldn't see a parent just being like...
Benjamin sketch. We should have opened with, I was raped by Matt Damon.
Yeah, right?
About 20 years ago. And when he finished, he said, how do you like them apples?
Well, the other thing that I think is very
It's
telling
insane.
about it
I've
too
never
is
been in
like,
Seattle.
you know,
Jamie, you were there, weren't you? You can back up what I'm saying. It was about 20 years ago that Matt Damon raped me. Do you remember?
well, and that's the other
Jamie,
thing.
tell them. You were
There,
there. Don't you remember?
there's a few things that I think are
We were in England. We went to Matt Damon's trailer and he raped me.
well, the other thing too is
And I'm gonna need Jamie, I need a documentary crew now to film my truth.
I think it's
My
very
truth.
telling too that the
And it's
idea
about Matt Damon raped me.
that Michael supposedly had these handful of boys over.
I'm pretty sure I was raped by Trump.
Maybe I've heard that he is infamous for touching little boys, like Kevin
Don't you
Spacey,
remember when
basically.
Trump raped me, Jamie?
I
Weren't
do.
you there?
I
Like,
do.
I can't remember
It was
if
in
you are,
Trump
but I'm pretty
Tower,
sure.
I think. I think it was in Trump Tower. It was. There were Russians there too, videotaping. They must have the evidence. BuzzFeed probably has a copy. Um, but no.
Why don't we do like Wade Robson raped me videos?
Well, I
That should
think
be like a viral thing.
one of the things that's interesting is the idea that Michael Jackson was having these sleepovers with all these little kids and stuff, and the idea that there were a handful of them claiming that he was having these sexual relationships, but they were all isolated during the incidences, and I find that unlikely. Like, I think if there were two of them that say he was sneaking off into a bathroom and jerking off with or whatever, how come he never brought two of them in together and was like, we all have this secret, hee hee. Like, why was it always isolated like that, where none of them claimed that there was anything ever going on between the two of them? Like, and it's like, that's just not how those things go on. Like, even like, when we were talking earlier this week and I was telling you about things when I was growing up as kids and stuff like that, like young little boys when they're being curious and, showing each other their things and all of that, like, it's not a very, like, if you're young and immature, that sense of shame and guilt isn't really there. So it's like, I almost would think that like you would have had Wade go to Jordy or whoever the other ones were and be like, "Oh, do you do this with Michael? I do it too. You want to do it together?" Like, but the fact that there was no inner dynamic between the boys, I find very odd. Like, that's where it's like it's there's something not right about all of it. I don't buy it.
Yeah, check this out. These are some of the emails that are a bit weird. It's Jenny's court case when he's trying to get his book deal. So these
Well,
emails.
hold on, one point,
right
because I had forgot it for a second. I just remembered. I also find it interesting too that like if you think about it, this guy, his main claim to fame is being like this top-notch choreographer, and in the day and age of like NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, like he was probably up to his neck in work. Nowadays, dancing isn't as big a thing as it used to be. Like maybe there's a Step It Up movie or something like that, but it's like almost like the well has run dry, where it's like, who is he going to get employed by? What is he going to be known for? Because he does seem like a bit of a fame whore. Like he seems like he needs the attention. Like, and I could understand Michael Jackson giving him that sort of complex where, like, he craves exuberant amounts of attention because as a little kid he was brought out into stadiums and things like that and always receiving this high level praise. And then it's like, if you can't get it from anywhere positive, eventually, negative attention seems to be just as fulfilling as positive attention.
Yeah, check out these emails that have come out. So I think it gets interesting from about, I'd probably go from about Exhibit 38.
Oh.
Actually, no, let's go from Exhibit 37 or 36. Go from 36, so on that. Because the top stuff, so you got, these are all his emails to his mum. After I performed with Michael on stage at 5, what happened after that? How did we end up spending that time with him at his hotel? Wade Robson, and then the day came. It's like, this is stuff he's sending to his publisher. And he's asking his mum, like, it's just weird questions. Let's just read through some of the weird ones. I will take a look at what I have written. I have several versions. I'll let you know what I think. And see if we'll get something that will benefit you. Love, Mum. And it's like, you can't remember when the police came around. Like, was I alone or was you there? I need to get my story exactly right. And it's like, what? Yeah. Here are some questions that have been coming up for me as I write. I want to absolutely get all the facts right. Could you just answer these whenever you get a chance? It's like, when we had that first private meeting with Michael Jackson that I performed with him when I was 5 in his hotel room, can you tell me as much as you can remember about that meeting? And it's just, it's like they're editing it together. I'm not doing a good job of finding like some of the good stuff in there, but it's like basically like he can't remember. It's like, how did we get into his hotel room? Like, how did we get invited? And how come we don't remember this stuff? But these are the emails that lost him his court case.
Even this. Hi, Wade. I will take a look at what I have written. I have several versions. I will let you know if I think it is something that will benefit you. It was good to be all together. As far as Amanda and you, I believe it will heal in time, but that timetable is up to you and her. I am definitely doing a lot better as I see lighter, brighter, healing future ahead of me. You mentioned that I could look at the pages you had written towards a book. Is that something you are really okay with? For me, it's just for the sake of learning some of the details of how stuff went down in the past. If so, is it emailable? Wade. When we had the first private meeting with Michael after I performed with him when I was 5
How did we end up being able
so
to meet Michael again at Record 1 that first trip? And at what point was that figured out and arranged before USA trip driven? Do you have any ideas what date was Record 1 meeting? Can you tell me that you remember about the meeting Record 1?
Yeah. Ah, where'd that go?
So it looks like he was trying to get a book deal anyway,
Yeah.
and it backfired massively. Yeah, Wade seems a bit sketchy.
Yeah, definitely does. Well, and even the other thing, they had the footage of one of the kids talking to a cop and being like, Michael Jackson, he brought me into a room, he masturbated me, and he's like, what happened? Michael Jackson. Like, did he put his hand on top of your pants, under the pants, this and that. Like, the kid seemed to be very vague, and the cop seemed to be like probing and like sort of leading, and like, I don't know, that interview I thought was very sketchy as well, where it was like that didn't come across as very believable.
It's just a very scary narrative that it seems to be truth over winning. I know Blackpill did a video called that, Truth Over Winning. And it seems to be that's just about winning, just get a free buck whatever way you can.
Yeah.
He's going to get a book deal, get on TV, get some money, and then just hide again. And in the meantime, it's a good era for this documentary to come out. Like Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire, like really digging into Michael Jackson, going, look at all the evidence is in the documentary. So there wasn't anything in that
Yeah,
at
there
all that
wasn't
can do
any
it.
evidence in it. Well, the other thing that like it all sort of
Nothing. It's
that
4 hours.
well, I have to think very carefully about how I word this because I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying, child abuse isn't a problem or anything like that. But it almost reminds me of the Milo situation. Like, remember when Milo came
Yeah.
out about him and the priest, and how Milo was like when Milo was being honest about it, basically, and he was saying like his truth about it, which was I was the one that pursued him. I didn't see it as anything wrong. Whatever, whatever. And it was only after the backlash that Milo has now been like, I understand it was wrong. I understand I was abused, this, and that. But I think it's very interesting how you have these kids who think there was nothing wrong, and then it sort of is almost like the narrative that they are victims of this is drilled into their heads. I mean, in no way am I saying under any circumstance an adult having a sexual relationship with a child is good or, not a problem. But I think it's a weird thing going on where it seems like these children don't seem to be victims in their own minds or acting as victims in any which way. And then suddenly being taught that they are and then living that like it really makes the credibility like be doubted. Like I almost believe the guy who seems completely just mentally unstable more that he was the victim of something. And it could even be one of those situations where he was abused by someone, like maybe they were abused by their fathers and that's why they're so cold-hearted towards their fathers dying and killing themselves and all of that, but they realize there's nothing to be gained in pointing the finger at dad. But if you point the finger at the guy that actually was there and actually cared for you, Michael Jackson, well, there's some money to be made there.
The other thing is it's worth going. If you go on the FBI webpage, you can read every single document the FBI had on Michael Jackson. Like, there's the investigation. Sorry, it was longer than I thought. It's actually 10 years. The FBI were like trying to stalk this guy out.
Well, and I'm sure they were trying to arrange stings and
document.
I mean, someone on that
And
level,
believe me, I think people have.
they would have been trying to arrange like sting operations and all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff. They would have been sending little kids wearing wires into his hotel rooms and
This is worth just reading out. Just going to read this out from medium.com. Wade Robson, at 22 years of age, testified under oath in Jackson's child molestation trial that Jackson had never touched him in a sexual manner. Jackson died in 2009. Wade's first molestation allegations occurred in 2012, and he filed for a lawsuit in 2013. In the petition to the court, Robson claimed that when he was a child, made a prophecy that Robson would be a film director. When Robson chose to direct a step-up film, he believed that a prophecy was coming and could not handle the pressure. He subsequently suffered a mental breakdown, went to therapy, and had some sort of thought that his son, that it led him to realize he had been sexually molested by Jackson for 7 years.
Now, it's...
So he turned down, remember, he was doing the Chris Angel thing that flunked.
That I didn't remember, but to tie this
and
to
then
the...
Britney Spears offered him a contract, and he turned that down, going, no, I'm going to do this prophecy crap.
To tie this to the whole Me Too thing and everything, remember when everyone was looking into Christine Blasey Ford? Remember what her job was? She was a psychologist or psychiatrist, one of the two, but she basically worked in a CIA MK Ultra false memory implantation program. So you almost wonder if the therapist that was seeing this guy, maybe that's one of these things where maybe these aren't even real memories, but maybe they have implanted memories into this kid for the sake
check out
of...
this document I just sent you. So this is 2011. This is an email to Wade Robson trying to get the job with the Jackson job. because they turned him down. So he got this email to Frank. Let's just read this. Frank, whichever way this goes, this is a long overdue call. My first mistake was that I imagined I had the capability to give all of myself to the MJ Cirque show, directing my first film and being a brand new father. I always wanted to do this MJ show badly, but then when I needed to come to that Montreal meeting with ideas, I knew that I did not have an iota of creative space. I mean, it seems weird that he's begging for this Michael Jackson show. I'm really sorry for the back and forth, but now I no longer have to film conflict. I'd rather have nothing more than to choreograph. I can't speak. Do the MJ show. I mean, don't they think this should be in a documentary? The fact that he was trying to beg that MJ Live obviously didn't think he was going to be good enough to do this.
Yeah.
So and gave him a background job. Still gave him a job. But he was like, no, I have to be the star. And they turned him down. They wrote, obviously, it backs up now.
Well, and that's part of the thing where
Let's
it's
just
like...
read the last paragraph, because the last paragraph's usually the best, right? Why should I believe that this job is not going to be too much for you? Because of all that I have learned through this process, directing a film was a completely new realm that I ended up not being ready for. But dance and choreography is what I've done my entire life. I know how to do this, and there are very few subjects I know more about than Michael Jackson.
Well, and the other thing I think is, like I was saying before, is like it's almost like
If
that
he got this job, these allegations have happened.
I don't think so. I think again it's that scorned girlfriend type of thing where
He's
it's
tried
like
to sue him for, was it like 1.2 billion? 1.2 billion. The guy's out of his mind.
This is an interesting website. Well, and I think it's also interesting, like, the idea, like, that this guy perjured himself repeatedly then. And, it's like, this documentary then is, like, supposed to make us, feel bad for the fact that he's a fucking liar for 20 years, and then finally...
I wonder if Macaulay Culkin's going to sue as well, because they were, like, hinting that once he was too grown up, that, Macaulay was going to be the next one to be groomed. And that he was, like, pushed away because it was Michael and Macaulay as the couple. So I think the Jacksons are, I don't know if they can sue over this, but Macaulay Culkin can.
Yeah.
I can see the Michael Jackson state filing quite a big lawsuit on this. Maybe they just want to shut HBO down, and they're just like, yeah, let's just get rid of it. And this is like just like a kamikaze suicide mission.
I mean, even this Safechuck, who also testified under oath that Michael did nothing inappropriate to him, stated in a declaration that Robinson's lawsuit somehow made him realize he may have been molested. Having failed in court, both Robson and Safechuck are now resorting to smearing Michael through this film. Not coincidentally, both Robson and Safechuck have been represented by the same law firm. Now, you know what else I didn't realize, but back then, you know who was representing the kids? Gloria Allred, who's one of these lawyers, she's one of these Me Too lawyers, and she always was. Like, she was the one that came out to defend Kathy Griffin when everything was falling apart for her. And she's always one of these people who are in the thick of the controversies and, these high-profile rape cases and everything else.
I just can't believe the media have just like run with it that easily. and just promoting it and not saying this is the worst journalism in history. We can't do documentaries like this ever again. It's insane, and you're going to get this shit suit out of you by Macaulay Culkin, by Michael Jackson. I hope they're going to finish you on this. But I just think it sets people up that it's okay just to go with your truth, you know. It's about winning, isn't it? As long as you win, what's it matter what the truth is? You know? And I'd love to bury Michael Jackson, bury his music, bury his art, and just get rid of it.
Here's the thing on this website. Who is Dan Reed?
It makes deplatforming like the norm. Like if you can deplatform Michael Jackson, who can't you deplatform, right?
Yeah, well, it's the thing I was saying Alex Jones was talking about is, you know, the deplatforming them, the getting rid of them, and then building the
good test case, you know.
The avatar in their place, the inversion of what they really were.
Yeah, test it on a dead guy, so when you do it for real, you know what strings to pull.
I mean, because think of it like this. Let's say this stuff isn't true and that Michael Jackson really did just give everything he had to try to bring light and joy into the lives of children and, you know, give them happiness and everything. Well, all people are going to know is this narrative. Like, I mean, even if, you know, to play devil's advocate, like even one of the mothers says, like, at one point, the amount of joy and happiness and everything that Michael Jackson did for kids, even if he did molest these three of them, like, he brought, you know, happiness and did charity work and all this for the lives of millions of children. And then there were these three that were harmed, but it's these three that will tarnish that reputation forever, indefinitely. And all of his good works will go unknown and be put down the memory hole. And all that will stand in its place is these allegations with no evidence or anything like that. I mean, here even it says, who is Dan Reed? No facts, no witnesses, no evidence, no problem. Dan Reed has repeatedly ducked the question of whether he considered speaking to anyone outside of the Wade Robson, James Safechuck, and their families for his film, as evidenced by the video on this page in which he dances around the question for nearly 2 minutes at the Sundance Film Festival. It's not a subject he wants to talk about. Likewise, when he was questioned by the LA Times if he approached Brett Barnes or Macaulay Culkin, both of who have denied Michael ever engaged in inappropriate behavior, he also ducked the question, initially stating he considered them, Reed providing another misleading answer. For the record, Brett Barnes has been vocal on Twitter in criticizing Reed's film, which answered the question of what happened after he considered him. And says, Brett Barnes, not only do we have to deal with these lies, but we've also got to deal with people perpetrating these lies. The fact that they failed to do the small amount of research it takes to prove these are lies, by choice or not, makes it even worse. Dan Reed sets himself up as judge and jury to use his film to invalidate the 2005 unanimous jury verdict in the Santa Maria, acquitting Michael Jackson on all charges. First, Wade Robinson now says he lies under oath when he testifies that Michael did nothing untoward him and casts himself as a reluctant that flies in the face of every account, including those of Robinson himself after the trial. Here's how he explains his decision to testify to Access Hollywood in 2007. Because he's always been a friend to me. That's what you do for friends. You tell the truth. I can't speak for him, but it would be an absolutely painful thing for anybody to go through.
It's weird. You haven't Oprah's jumped all over it like a little witch. And the thing is with Oprah, I mean, of all the people to lecture us about sexual predators, it's going to be Oprah.
Right.
So you had Bill Clinton on there. You had that, who was it? Who was that guy who recently got busted trafficking kids? And she was like, this man's such a great guru. You had that one. You had Weinstein hanging around, apparently handing women over. So, you know, trust Oprah to jump all over it. And anything Oprah jumps on, you want to jump straight off. And yeah, the way they're milking Corey Feldman, like, Corey Feldman backtracks. It's like, no, he hasn't. Actually, listen to what he said. He said, I don't think, like, I'm still sticking to my story that Michael never touched me. I can't talk about other kids because I wasn't there. But I'm telling you, he didn't touch me. And the other thing is why he's given up. So they quote him in other interviews where it's like, I've given up defending Michael Jackson. Yeah, because he went to the FBI. The FBI went to Corey Feldman and he went, no, Michael Jackson never molested me. And he gave all the names of the Hollywood stars and producers that were who did molest him. And the cops just laughed and did nothing. And that's his point. It's like, these tapes are public record. Like, you can go on YouTube, you can listen to the Corey Feldman tape to the FBI. It's like, it's on YouTube. No one did anything. It's like, that's why I'm not going to protect Michael, because I've done, like, what else can I do after make this $10 million film?
Even here it says...
And no one's going to listen.
It says, Dan Reed's lies to the press. Dan Reed misled the press at Sundance with a heartwarming story that suggested Wade Robson and James Safechuck had been kept apart for legal reasons, and that the Sundance Film Festival was their poignant reunion as adults. Here's what he told Rolling Stone. Sundance was the first time as adults that they had met. It's the first time they have seen each other for significant time together. And it says, but look at Wade Robson's deposition taken on December 12, 2016, in which he was asked point blank, when was the last time you spoke to James Safechuck? And it has both in Vanity Fair and Rolling Stone, the director saying that these two haven't seen each other as adults. But when asked in deposition in 2016, Wade Robson says, I believe the last time was in early 2014. So they have seen and spoke to each other as adults, and it's on legal record. I mean, the only thing that can be safely said about these guys without a shadow of a doubt is they're fucking liars. Like, that's the main takeaway. Like, everything else, what they're lying about, that we can take our guesses on, but they're fucking liars. That's without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, and they lied at trial when they could have protected all these kids that they're so concerned about.
Big Chris said in the chat, sorry I've had windows up and I wasn't seeing this, Chris. I'm always surprised how someone as intelligent as Ben Shapiro can say such researched garbage.
Ben Shapiro!
Razor Fist videos on MJ are good. He just put out his third. Razor Fist is really great. His rants are absolutely amazing.
Lionel Nation's buying a documentary. He's like really into it. Like, it's about time someone put this documentary out.
I think some of the times it's that people see what they want to see. And here's the other thing too, where it's like, people will come with the mindset that we know Hollywood is filled with pedophiles, so when they know that and they want to see someone, called out for it, sometimes that inclination to want to see someone held accountable sort of overrides the, is this the right person? Because, it's part of it's like, what's the best way to, like, cover up for your own dirty deeds is to, falsely accuse someone else. It's a misdirection tactic. It's a rules for radicals thing. Accuse everyone else of what you're actually guilty of. If you're colluding with the Russians, say that your enemies are doing it. If you're a fucking racist, call everyone else a racist. Like, and that's the thing. That's why I think the media and everyone in Hollywood and Oprah and all of them are like, really hopping behind this, is because it gives them a front to put up that misdirects everyone from looking at them. Like, Oprah, why are you passing off Rita Ora to Harvey Weinstein knowing what he's like? Oh, don't look at that. Look at Michael Jackson. Believe the victim. Believe Wade Robson.
Yeah, well, it's the timing that we just happen to be in this era of the Me Too movement too, It's like, it's more about the time. It's like I say, it's more of a documentary to reflect the time we're in, rather than looking for any truth, and about winning from allegations. Like, is it true? Is it not true? And then, yeah, I don't know. It's some of the worst journalism I've seen ever. Like, ever.
Well, it's not journalism. That's the reality of it. It's not journalism.
Like, we've done years and years of looking at the media, and I think this It's number one. It's just insane.
I mean, I think it's just
Important.
like how you're saying it's not something that's trying to get to the bottom of something. It's something that's there to sell you on.
It's to set an agenda.
Yeah.
To move forward. Like this is going to be a new era of allegations and stuff.
Yeah.
And the other thing is just like when you're saying before, just to quickly say, like, who's going to try and help kids now? Like, say Michael Jackson was really helping kids. Who's going to do that now and take that risk?
Well, that's
anyone wants to set up a new Neverland for kids, they're going to be like, fuck that.
Well, that's one of the things I thought, that these parents didn't seem to understand, when it came to the court cases happening, and they were like, Michael kind of cut ties, and, he said, don't bother paying us back for the house, and this, and that, and it's like, his lawyers would have advised him to do that. Like, his lawyers would have sat him down and said, listen, Michael, we understand you like helping people. We understand you have these families that you've had close ties with and ever, but people are taking advantage of you, and, unless you can really trust them, you got to cut ties. If you want to call in the debt or set it up through a proxy or forgive them or do whatever, but you got to isolate yourself and keep your distance. We can't have any more of this popping up. We can't have people being tempted to do that. Like, that would have been the legal strategy, and the fact that that wasn't even, it was just them being like, oh, well, I thought because he did this that it must have just been because of this, and it's like, he had the best lawyers in the world advising him how to handle this, and if I was his lawyer, that's what I would have said. Michael, you got to cut ties. You can't be hanging out with the kids anymore. Like, sorry. I understand what it is, but, we got to keep you safe, first and foremost, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm your lawyer. I'm not here to help kids. I'm here to protect you. Like, that's how that would have gone. Like, just cut and dry. The only reason people think MJ was a pedo and not Mr. Rogers is because MJ was weird and Mr. Rogers wasn't. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think it's just, for what, like, it's kind of like what I was saying before, for whatever reason, like, it's like a virtue signaling thing. Like, that's what I think it is with, like, Ben Shapiro and types like that, where it's, and even maybe Lionel to some extent, where I was saying, people know there's this problem, so when they find someone that they can hop behind the bandwagon of calling out, they like to do it because it makes them feel as if they are doing something good or showing how much of a good person they are and things like that. It's, I don't know.
I really think it is a mind control experiment. It is like a feedback loop on the public to see if they can rewrite history in real time.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think it's exactly...
Because you've got everyone's reaction. You know exactly what the reaction is based on, like, the internet algorithms and feedback that's really coming in.
I almost...
The likes and dislike ratios. And, like, can you bury someone with a good documentary, with propaganda? Can you still bury them?
I almost feel like...
No evidence, just story after story, like, a bit of dramatic music. Can you rewrite history to the point where people aren't going to play Michael Jackson music ever again?
Well, I almost...
Or play any of his music videos ever again.
I'm going to see if I can bring up that Alex Jones clip from the BANDCAMP interview I was talking about, just because I'm telling you, he perfectly describes what is going on here, where he's saying, they'll take you out...
platform, yeah.
Take like, your persona...
Yeah, you can test like what reactions if someone does upload on their Jackson video. Just the person who uploaded it get like a load of shit.
We need to remember that Satan,
how dare you,
and to be back to evil, I'm going to be good. I'm going to
killed Andrew Breitbart. So
Andrew
into the future. That's you get to a certain point where it's like an event horizon, and it's just lined up enough crazy people or whatever to do
and
it.
I can imagine.
Oh yeah.
We were working on a TV show together that you'll remember, and he told me he had. Final question. Are you?
So to bury that.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna play this this clip from the Jones interview real quick, just because like I said, I think it, and it really, with them saying, Michael Jackson was taken out and like them talking about assassinations and stuff, I think he really describes what this documentary is really doing. So here we go. It'll just be like 3 minutes.
Afraid you're going to be assassinated?
You know, I'm not afraid of it. I mean, I think there's obviously a good chance of that. They try to wind up enough crazy people or whatever to do it, but they have to first destroy my name completely, and then just create a lie where I once was, so that, you know, once I'm gone, then they can capture me and build a straw man so that I can then be an avatar or a character into the future. Because that's what the devil loves to do: take somebody good, take something strong, take something that had big success for humanity, and then shut it up, and then build a counterfeit that you claim is that thing, and then have it speak for you. I mean, like this Homeland TV show they admit's based on me. And, you know, he's this horrible lying demon who hurts people and is a racist and everything. And then it's the opposite of who I am. I mean, but that's what they did. It's part of a larger plan. So, yes, they have to finish destroying me, and then they do plan to either put me in prison or take me out. But
all right. So that right there was Jones real quickly. And like I said, I heard him say this. And then the next thing I did was I hopped into bed and turned on the Michael Jackson interview and watched it, or the Michael Jackson documentary, and it's exactly what he said. He said, you know, the devil has to take something
when I
good.
Met Alex Jones in London.
Yeah.
He raped me.
Oh man,
Luke Radowski was there. He saw it.
I'm sure. I think I was there too. And,
yeah.
And
Damien will tell you. Tell them.
Yeah, it was at the Bilderberg conference. It was actually in the middle of the conference on the sacrifice table to Molech, and Alex Jones's eyes turned black, and you know he gave Paul some DMT, and he said, "You're gonna meet your God," and
we did the DMT.
Yeah, and he sacrificed him to Molech. But yeah,
I'm not even here anymore.
I think, you know, it's exactly what Jones was saying. They have to the devil has to take something strong and something good and has to create a counterfeit avatar in its place so that after they destroy it and they deplatform
from Alex Jones, because Alex Jones used to be on the Michael Jackson's a paedophile camp. Maybe he's changed on that. But that's one thing I used to disagree with Alex Jones on, was that Michael wasn't fiddling kids. And I used to get annoyed when he said he was. So, a little bit interesting there.
Well, and here's the thing, too, is like, I
this
would think...
This is precedent, though, Jamie. Like, this is going to be the future. It's also going to fuck people's minds up, to people who do analyse the media like we do, that if they can get away with this, like, we're fucked.
Well, the other thing too, I think, is interesting. They can
pull this documentary off, and people aren't gonna, because you've got to have moral standards. You've got to have a principle and a standard across the board. And the principle is, like, is this acceptable to go after a dead guy when there's not much effort?
The reality is I find it hard to believe that Michael was having this many kids over to Neverland and only touched or diddled like 3 of them. Like, I would think there would have been like 20, or you know what I mean? Like,
apparently there's about 48 kids that have come forward saying that Michael Jackson did nothing.
Yeah.
The kids have come forward to defend him, like, in big numbers. And the other thing is, where, if it just happened, like, where are all the other kids that are coming in?
Yeah.
Like, how come no one else has come forward since this documentary going, well, now this documentary's out, I'm going to come forward? Like, there's been none, like, I'm sure they were saying, give it 2 months, and it will be flooded with Michael Jackson allegations. Like, in the headlines today, The Sun is comparing Michael Jackson to Jimmy Savile.
Oh, my God.
And the King of Pop was more like Jimmy Savile. It's like, no, like, that's the other thing. It's like, no one knew about Jimmy Savile. It's like, yeah, they did. And the other thing is, Jimmy Savile comes off as an actual psycho.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson doesn't come off as anything. He gets upset when an insect gets harmed on stage. They stopped the whole show to protect an insect.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing where, you know, like, you hear him talking, and he's like, I would never harm a child. I would never, like... And I mean, I understand, you know, if someone is in that situation and they are actually a child molester and stuff, like, of course they would deny the allegations, but there's something about Michael saying that where it's like, you really, like, it's like, I don't think Michael is capable of lying and deception on that level. Like, I think there's something about him.
Do you want to watch the? Do you want to? I'll teach you something. I want to show off. Let's get Wade Robson on the Today Show and just watch his body language, how bad it is on Today Show, and I'll show you some of the things that happen. So let's go. Well, watch it go. You hit
from Wade.
Let's forward it to when he's on to. If we go for the same way, it's NBC. Well, it's on YouTube. NBC Today. Wade Robson allegation. It's like a 9-minute 26 video. Let's skip that to 146.
The one from the 13th or 5/6/13.
Yeah. So skip it. I'm on 1:50 is where you want to go to. Let's go to 1:38. Go from there. And tell me when to click play. Make sure you got your finger near the pause button. I'm going to show you some stuff.
You said
This is what I learned.
1 minute.
You ready?
Hold on, 1 minute.
Tragically, this is a very common story. Study after study after study on childhood sexual abuse has shown
tell me when you're ready, press play.
It takes adulthood for many victims to come forward, and that it is very possible that even kids in their 20s do not understand that a crime was committed against them.
Hold on.
Jackson's estate says Robson's claims are outrageous and have no credibility. Wade Robson, good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. You know that the things you're going to say here this morning, and perhaps in a court of law, are going to get a lot of attention,
in your own
a lot
time.
of headlines. So before I ask you specifics, what's your mindset right now?
What's my mindset? I feel
so as soon as you ask him a question, he does the first. So look at his body language. Just press pause.
I did.
So that's not a good start. Did you see him shrug when he asked the first question? He shrugs.
Yeah.
And the next time he does an eyebrow shrug.
Attention, make a lot
and then
of headlines.
Third one he does a hand shrug. So the first question is a shoulder shrug.
What's my mindset?
So look at his body language. Before you press play, look at his body language, how he's crossed.
Well, and
look how his hand is underneath his leg.
Yeah, and even the first thing is like, you can almost, you see...
Wait for the shrug, and the first question shrugs.
Well, and he shakes his head side to side, no. Like, his body language
That doesn't mean, what that means, a shrug means that you're not confident, you do not want to be probed on that question.
Yeah.
If you saw someone sat like that with their leg underneath their hand underneath their leg, cross-legged, away from the interview, he's away. It's not good. It looks like he's hiding something. So
it's very closed off, yeah.
You see, he shrugged with his eyebrow.
Yeah.
Just 2 shrugs. One with the arm. And now he's going to shrug with his hand. He's going to move his hand and shrug it away like this. It's the next move. I'm trying to watch it on your screen. So, but each time he answers the question back, you'll see an involuntary shrug.
Yeah.
He does in a documentary, like he does the most obvious one. He covers his mouth after a big, after a big revelation.
So what are you alleging that he actually did?
Yeah. Oh, I missed it. But yeah, you can see him doing some arm shrugs and shrugging away.
It's a difficult and personal question, but can you be
shrug with the
someone who is deceased of criminal activity?
Eyebrows again.
Well, the other thing that I think, again, is so odd is the idea, like I was saying earlier, the idea
if
that...
you compare it to Michael Jackson's when he's I am innocent, and like it's all matches what he's saying. It's matching the body, like it's such an impulse. I don't go through it with Michael Jackson because, to be fair, he is a trained actor. But this is a trained actor, and he's getting lots of shit. You probably want to cover up. Did you see his lips? It's worth checking his lips. He does some weird, like he's hiding his lips. You see him doing this lip going.
When I also...
So that's kind of like, when you do that, it's kind of like distancing yourself from what you're saying. It's like when you really want to get a point, you'll show your teeth, like Michael Jackson does, because he's really angry about the allegations, so you can see, like... But yeah, he seems shady in that interview to me.
Yeah.
And it's my truth, I've got to tell. It's like... And the way he talks about it as it being present, he gets his present and past mixed up a lot. It's it's happening now.
Well, and
It's not
again,
going on.
the whole thing I go to is I just think it's very odd. Like, you know, remember earlier this week I told you about a friend of mine who was molested by his father, and he ended up killing himself. And I mean, he had a relationship with a girl who I was very close with, and you know, she knew there was something off even in their dating. And people who've been in situations like this, they can't just carry on normal relationships like anyone else. Like, there's something off there. Like, and it's like, to think his girlfriend wasn't able to pick up on it and they were able to just have a kid and a life as normal and everything like that. Like, it's unbelievable, because there's what's known as the cycle of abuse, where the abused become abusers, especially if they think
How
it's
come
nothing
there's
wrong
no
with
campaign
it.
to get Macaulay Culkin to support Wade Robson?
Right? Yeah. I mean, and it's like,
Came out and clarified it.
and it's like, you wonder why Wade. Well, and you'd think if there was a campaign that Wade Robson would have the loudest voice in it, being like, you know, Macaulay needs to do the right thing. He needs to come forth and support me and everyone else.
He's an adult now.
He knows the truth and this, and that, and like.
Are they ever going to show Home Alone again on TV?
Probably. I just, yeah, it's unbelievable. I don't buy it. I think the whole thing is it's just a publicity ploy, you know? No one needs his choreography skills anymore or anything like that. So he's just trying to do whatever he can to keep his name relevant. Because, you know, like it said at one point, this guy was like the biggest name in pop music.
What can I say?
And now he isn't anything. I don't know. Well, let's switch gears for a bit. Anything else in other news that you want to get into?
Brexit becomes a teenager today.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's 19 days to go, so it's
Oh.
a teenager. So this week we've got I've got two things I want to talk about. Brexit first. So we've got 3 votes coming up. I got the first one. I think is, are we going to go with Theresa May's deal? I think we vote that on Tuesday. Written by Merkel. The deal's written by Theresa Merkel. So, and then if that doesn't happen, on Wednesday we got a vote just to leave. I should just get the fuck out. And if that doesn't work, we're just going to kick the can down the road. We're going to have a vote on just kicking the can down the road. And I was thinking, right, do you know what I would do if I was Theresa May, if I was her?
What?
This is if I was her. Like, I think she's a witch, she's evil. We know what I think of Theresa May, right? I'm not going to do that. Even, like, in her shoes, I would still do this. On Friday, let the votes happen. Don't pay attention to yourself. Fuck the result. Don't matter. She's going on Friday, and she's going to walk outside Downing Street, and she's going to walk up to the mic, and she's going to go, look, England, I've tried to come up with a Brexit deal. I've been stabbed, stopped at every step of the way. And it's been treacherous for the people of England. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit as a strong woman. And England's just going to go, yes! Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
She could be like the Queen of England. And she just let it all just collapse until Friday and go, do you know what? I'm going to out. She would go down in history as like Winston Churchill, kind of like, I know it's a scumbag, but you know, the ideology.
Yeah.
How people sin. Because she's got to think about her legacy. Imagine if she did play that card. that we're going to make, that's a Trump, we're going to make England great again. And I tried to get the deal through. You can't blame me for the Brexit, because I tried to get the deal. No one would take it, so we're leaving. And I'm being strong, I'm going to lead us. And I'm going to get help from the Queen, another strong woman. But I mean, I can't see that happening. I think they're going to kick the can down the road. I don't know, they're going to kick the can down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see them letting it happen.
You can't see Theresa May just going for glory. Because imagine if she did do that, the reaction. And I'm dating Tommy Robinson. We will throw out the immigrants, all of them.
You know, I haven't.
Islam is bad.
I haven't watched the whole stream, but have you seen what's
going to happen, Jamie? Like this week, we got 3 votes. One of them is we're going to do the Merkel-May deal, which I tried to do loads of time, and the EU probably won't accept anyway. It won't go down well. Number 2 is we leave. Just leave. No deal. Like we're supposed to have done. That was the Brexit. Was like we either get a deal or no deal. Either way, we're out. Or kick the can down the road. Well, I can't see him kicking the can down the road. Like I can't see that being played.
Well, have you seen Owen Benjamin has said something about, he was doing a podcast where he was talking about Tommy Robinson, and he was like, listen, I'm going to get into the good and the bad and just give you the honest, my honest take on it and things like that. But I didn't watch the whole thing, so I didn't know what his issues with Tommy were. Have you seen that? What Owen?
I've never seen him come up with any issues on Tommy. I think he does. Owen will admit he is pretty deep in Israel intelligence.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't watched the whole thing.
I still don't know what to make of Tommy Robinson. Like I know I throw a lot of negative stuff his way, but still I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know for sure what.
Well, I mean, he does a lot of good besides the showing up at the court and that whole charade. Like, he brings...
Well, he might be going back to jail for that, apparently.
Yeah.
Just in time for Brexit and all. Yeah, it could get fucking crazy in England in the next couple of days.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping it doesn't, but I don't see them letting you guys leave, unfortunately.
I don't know. Because do you remember looking at the Economist magazine? And
yeah.
No, why not? Because you could, I don't know, the other thing is they could pull lots of collapses once Brexit's done. England just, and they go, oh, we told you so, quickly, let's just go back into Europe, let's quickly have a referendum and just turn it all back. So they could unleash chaos for a while. But I don't know. I reckon we should just leave, and then we should invade France, get rid of those fucks, and then come after these fucking Yanks, bro.
Re-establish the.
Yeah, that's what I would run for.
Re-establish the.
Will take back America.
Re-establish the British Empire.
Yeah, man, have some war.
Why not?
Build some men again, and I'll fight, bro. Dude. Get a war against France. Yeah, start the French, man.
Yeah.
Fuck those guys.
That'd be funny.
I bet loads of countries would join us in that.
Probably at this point. I would say it's a good idea.
Yeah, man. That should be my campaign.
Invade France.
Yeah, make America great again. Invade it. Yeah, right?
That would be great.
That would be great.
But alright, well let's wrap this one up for the day.
Alright.
Since I think we covered everything.
For Brexit, and what are they gonna do?
Like I said, I don't think they're gonna let you guys leave. I think they're gonna just, throw up every roadblock they can. But I mean, I think then, you'll end up having the people revolt and who knows where we'll go from there. So we'll have to see. What'd you say, 19 days left?
Yeah, my prediction, if I had to pick one, it's going to be a no deal.
Yeah.
I hope so. That would be like, England will just be like, you have to fly to England. If we get a no deal, you're going to have to fly down for the 29th. It's going to be crazy. Can you imagine that in London? No deal. Mate, it's going to be mate, that'll be a party not to miss.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that? England gets their independence back. Is that a deal? If we get a no deal, you have to come down for the 29th.
I'll try, but I don't know if I'd get a passport in time.
Go me with, like, do a picture of you with a big smile with the British flag behind you.
Definitely would try.
Dude, I'll pay for your fucking flight, you dum-dum.
Like I said, my whole thing
go
is...
on Google now and just check out how much it costs. We fly down. If we get a no deal, man. Yeah, bro. It's going to be insane.
Let me check. Flight to New York to
29 a month. Yeah, man, we can fly our British flags for real.
Let's see. I don't know, about $700.
Yeah, that's nothing, man. Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's from JFK to Heathrow.
Yes. Yeah. If we get a no deal, I'm telling you, it's going to be insane. Nothing's going to happen in England for a good 3 days. It's going to be complete shutdown.
Yeah.
It's going to be... Everyone's going to be at the pub. No one's going to go to work. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I can see Theresa May being being that sneaky. Imagine how she'll go down in history if she was like, fuck the government, like, we're leaving. Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I'm with the people.
I mean...
Probably win the next election after that.
Definitely would if she did take that stance.
Yeah. That'd be amazing. And she'd be able to go, strong women! Yeah!
But like I said, I don't think they're gonna let you guys get a deal. I hope they will, but
I can't see him kicking a can down the road again. I can't see that.
Yeah.
But what does that do if you kick the can down the road anyway? You're still gonna have to go through this dilemma.
But all right, let's wrap things up. I need to get some food in me. But all right, we'll do it again next week.
Yeah, well, next week I think we should do the Matt Damon raped us documentary.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that, and we'll come up with some other topics. Maybe we'll get into the do a real find the documents and all of that on the intergalactic elf demons and all that stuff. Because I did that video, and I'll just go on a tear about this before we wrap it up real quick.
I've got nowhere to go. Like, I wanted to cover another story anyway.
I understand why, Owen Benjamin and Vox Day both say they like keeping their channels small because they don't want the cult of personality that you have erecting around these YouTubers like Styx Hexenhammer. I did that video making a completely valid critique of Styx Hexenhammer and his dismissal of the occultism and black magic. And let me tell you, some of these defenses that people are putting on him are like, well, Styx doesn't believe in the occult. He's a rational, logical evidence, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, his screen name is Styx Hexenhammer 666. He has videos saying my pagan journey, why I'm a pagan. He publishes occult books, and you people are telling me he has nothing to do with the occult. Like, it's the most mind-boggling thing. It would be like if my screen name was Hitler did nothing wrong, 1943. I wore a swastika armband and started reading Mein Kampf in live streams, and then people were like, Jamie has nothing to do with Nazism. He's just a historian. He's just, I mean, it's like the fact that these people launched these defenses is like, it's, you just are like, how do you not see this? Like, I mean, yeah, maybe he doesn't buy into it as much, maybe he doesn't really believe it and he just thinks it's like Dungeons and Dragons kind of cool or whatever, but the lengths in which they will go to defending these people is absolutely baffling. Like, they just can't call a spade, and I think it's what comes with getting too big, where it basically is these people end up making you what they want you to be rather than what you really are. So I think
it would be nice to have more than 3 viewers.
Well, I do agree with that, but I mean, I think it's algorithmically, just impossible at this point. That's another thing. Maybe I'll do a video and an expose on that, because I'll tell you what, I was thinking about this too the other day. I was watching some videos, some guy, I think it was on the Stranger Than Fiction channel, and he was talking about this Canadian YouTuber, something seeing, she's like a Sikh YouTuber, and she does all these videos and gets these like celebrities in them and stuff, and it seems so artificial, and that it's artificially pushed, and everyone's talking about after the adpocalypse, YouTube getting corporatized and stuff, and I think everyone expected that YouTube would go mainstream and get corporatized and be like TV in regards to, you would see TV and TV personas like Will Smith and Jack Black infiltrate YouTube. But I think what it's really going to be is you're going to have people that will appear to be just everyday average YouTubers that will actually have big backing behind them, like artificially created personalities being pushed to the forefront of YouTube, rather than it being a homegrown grassroots genuine movement. Like, I think you will have a new PewDiePie basically come out, someone who will be just like him but will be the PC version, and I think you'll have him get millions of subscribers overnight, but it will be like bots and just artificial growth, artificial creation, and I think it will be them creating YouTube celebrities, but it will be with corporate backing from the very beginning. So I think I'm going to do some digging into that, and who actually are the top YouTubers, and how did they, like, their growth rates, and who's behind them and stuff like that. Because I think we're going to get to a point where that's going to happen.
I did find something cool on 5G.
What is that?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain it too well, but I'm going to try. It's obviously the normal stuff, like it's going to be really bad for your health. It's going to like rewire your DNA. It's going to like be able to put you in moods, like in that film Bird Cage.
Yeah.
It was. But like the thing is, it's like, go back. I might butcher this, but back in the day when they first used this technology, it was military. And the reason military used it was you could use it as a radar. So if you fired it out, if something came in that interfered with it, you'd know that something's coming.
Like a sonar, right?
Yeah, but the problem with that, when you've just got one, it's just an interference. So you can't really tell where it is. If you put 2 up, and you'll be able to build like a triangle, then when it comes in, you can figure out exactly where it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the hive mind. If everyone's got this mobile phone, this 5G, it is literally going to be what was in Batman. Everyone's going to be linked to each other, and any movement you make can be recreated in a 3D model. So Have you seen the way you take photos and you move about and you get dots of the land and then you put the dots together?
Yeah.
It's
You,
like a 3D
like you
model.
stitch together the
Yeah,
composite.
so as you're walking around with your phone, you're going to be causing all these interferences everywhere. And they're going to be able to map out anything that happened. So, yeah, even if you killed Brett in your house now, they'll be able to remodel that. As long as you had your phone on you, they'll be able to tell where you walked, how close you did. It's going to be insane what sort of modelling they're going to be able to do of this. It is literally going to be like that Batman film, where they can reproduce 3D models of what exactly you did. Like, it's going to be way better than CCTV.
Yeah.
I'm not explaining as well, but that's...
No, but I think
everyone's got it on their phone,
comparing it
and everyone's
to...
interfering with each other, and that's producing this massive 3D model. If someone got killed on London Road Street, you'd be able to probably like recreate a 3D animation of how the murder.
Well, like you said, comparing it to the Batman.
You'd be able to get the hand movements. Like, it'd be that accurate. You'll get the hand movements and to recreate that.
And I think comparing it to the Batman thing, like you were saying, like that's probably the most accurate. That's how it would pretty much be.
It's not about it's spying on you. You're now spying on everyone else.
Yeah.
You're making that spy group.
Yeah.
And literally, it's going to be such an effective radar system that you're going to be able to recreate 3D models from putting the dots by. So you have like a 3D model of London, everyone walking around, you can start getting the dots and the interference, and that's going to create like the body of the like, it's going to be fucking weird. I'm not doing a good job explaining it, but I'm sure this is not good. We're literally going to be in a prison planet.
Yeah. No, I think I definitely that makes a lot of sense. Like as far as you're saying with the Batman thing and them using everyone's cell phones.
I haven't
to map
seen
the
anyone else
areas.
hit 5G like from that kind of surveillance model. Just how in depth it's going to be. Everything you walk past is going to have the 5G, you know? You're not going to be able to...
Well, that's one of the things they were saying is that it involves like a bunch of little towers like set up everywhere. Like not like the big ones. But all right, well that gives us some topics to dig into to have ready for next week.
Yeah, man.
So
all right,
I'll check you later. All right.
See ya.